And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are at while watching this video. This is Grand Tactician, the Civil War, the Confederate campaign, starting in the spring of 1861 start. This episode is what we'll call a campaign episode, where we will see the campaign map for most of the episode and go over some adjustments, look at the Western Theater in a little bit more detail, kind of recap. We are in May of 1862, so you'll see that and a whole lot more in the latest episode of Grand Tactician, the Civil War. Here we are, May 2nd, 1862, and the American Civil War is in full swing, with the Confederates pushing back the Union invaders back into their homeland, and we are, as the Confederate states, have pushed into Maryland, taken Baltimore and Washington, D.C., and also out west we have pushed the Union forces back into south central Illinois. We retain control of most of Kentucky, with no real threat from the Union on Kentucky. Missouri, most of Missouri, or at least half of Missouri, has remained into Confederate hands. So taking a look at the situation in the West, Albert Sidney Johnston has pushed a Union threat that was trying to cross the Mississippi halfway in between Cairo and St. Louis and break the Confederate line in half. The Confederate line guarding the Mississippi in between Zollicoffer's Army of Missouri and Johnston's main Army of the West, stationed out of Cairo, as they have been sent back to the main Union forces have been sent back to the Salem and Bellevue line in south central Illinois. And although there is a relatively large gap in our front lines around Evansville, Indiana, there doesn't seem to be any reports of any significant Union force in that area, as Joe Johnston's Army of Kentucky kind of guards from a distance the Army of the West's right flank. Plus, we also control that portion of the Ohio with Rousseau's River Squadron, as the Union forces have not been able to mount any significant naval presence on the Mississippi or Ohio rivers. So Albert Sidney Johnston has called back Buckner to get him back across the Mississippi. So while they wait to get Buckner across and again try to get his main force and continue his plan into Illinois, you can see it looks like the Union Army has done some more recruiting in northern Illinois as they prepare for defense in depth there. So you push back one line of the Union armies, and another horde of Union blue is forming in the rear. So the Union does still outnumber significantly the Confederate forces by about 100,000 soldiers. So we now have a situation where Hood is on the right and Price's Corps on our left, and Buckner will come in a reserve position after he crosses the Mississippi. Price's Corps did extremely well in this Mississippi campaign. We also received some support from Zollicoffer in the form of Blanchard's St. Louis division, who came in and participated in some of the battles along the Mississippi. We still have Blanchard attached to Johnston, but I think we're actually going to reattach Blanchard to Zollicoffer. Tillman and his Army of Kansas is still trying to build supply depots so that he can push into Kansas, as his goal is to persuade Kansas to join the Confederacy. There's large support for Kansas to join the Confederacy, as the population has supported them 100%. They just unfortunately, are controlled by Union forces. So we have to militarily persuade the Kansas folk to join the Confederate States. And back east, Ewell has secured Baltimore for the Confederate States. Uncharacteristically, Lee's corps has suffered from a lot of lack of readiness throughout the early spring. Now, he was heavily besieged by Union forces as they tried to starve out Beauregard's army. I think that's caused part of a lack of supplies reaching Lee. So we've tried to improve our supply situation out of Washington. We've been able to beat back most of the Union forces in Maryland. They still remain present, and another thing is Maryland is still hostile to our Confederate cause. Our cavalry commander, not Stuart, but William Preston, made sure the Marylanders would not welcome the Confederates into their homeland. They were at one time about to join the Confederate States, but were quick to throw the yoke off the Confederate dominance as Preston raided Baltimore to destroy the supplies of the Union base there. And Maryland was not happy. They joined back to the Union side. Now we have to try to capture the main towns, which I think we might have to retake Cumberland to forcibly take back Maryland, or maybe Annapolis. So Annapolis seems to be the low-hanging fruit for us next in Maryland. I wonder if we take Annapolis if we cannot push Maryland over to the Confederate side. But even then, that's going to take some time to rest our forces in Maryland, as even Ewell is in the orange readiness. So I think they are going to need to rest a little bit and try to regain their supplies. It might behoove us to try to upgrade our supply depots. Actually, they are in the middle of being built. 18 more days. So the 2 supply depots in Washington are still being upgraded. Union still holds a blockade around the Potomac River, so that might be making supplies harder to get across into Washington. Although we do control the ferry across Harper's Ferry and into Frederick. So that's why Frederick, Maryland is being heavily guarded by Benjamin McCulloch's Army of the Shenandoah, and why we have split Preston's large cavalry corps into 2 parts. Preston to watch over the Union advance in western Maryland, and Stuart's cavalry now to be the eyes and ears of the Army of Northern Virginia's advance. Joe Johnston still fortifying northern Kentucky, building a fort along the Kentucky River. Make some minor command changes. Gratiot, I'm not sure exactly why, but Gratiot's brigade usually starts battles in a low morale condition. I want to change his command. I was looking at William Cabell as a possible replacement. We will try that. The young lieutenant, giving an opportunity. So to add a little extra flavor to this campaign, if you have been following along or are new to the campaign, as deep as we are into it, I was thinking that some of these units, especially in the West and the Army of Northern Virginia, might need some better names. Brigades like Burbridge. I mean, Hampton's Legion is good. Waitman's Battalion. Waitman's guns. He has done a good job with his artillery. Pillow's Division is very veteran. He's extremely veteran officer. His division always performs well in battles. Even Gladden has had some good moments. I mean, of course, you have Jackson, McClaw, Wingo's brigade. Wingo seems to have been in a lot of important situations. This guy has highly experienced. Of course, there's also D.R. Jones's brigade, D.R. Jones's division. So the 3 divisions of Lee's corps are all extremely well experienced veterans, hardcore fighters. So if you want to think of any kind of dignified nicknames for some of these brigades or even divisions, please leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll try to add them into the next video before that release. You have a certain brigade that you've picked up on while watching that campaign, like Macintosh might need a nickname. Recently promoted, he has earned his division promotion. So again, any kind of nicknames. Same goes for the army out west. If there's certain brigades that you have enjoyed watching or identified with, come up with a nickname. We'll add it. We'll change their name. Stuff like the Iron Brigade or the Light Division, stuff like that. Make up your own. Now, unfortunately, even though I want to kind of push forward before the Union can organize a counterattack, we gotta wait for Lee's readiness to get higher. We're waiting for Buckner's Corps to get across the Mississippi, so that the Army of the West can be ready to push into Illinois. So it'll be interesting to see. There might be a delay before action takes. This might give the Union enough time to regroup and counterattack with superior numbers. Alright. May 2nd to the 3rd, Army of Shenandoah and Minnesota retreat back north in Maryland. It looks like they are conceding Annapolis, so Magruder is ready. So Magruder is going to enter Annapolis. So Magruder is on the move. It's May the 4th. Some news: Union printing new notes, new greenbacks, flood the market, inflation accelerates, public wealth suffers. So yeah, the Union forces might just be abandoning Maryland as they go to defend. Looks like they're worried about Philadelphia now, as basically the Confederate forces are pointing an arrow straight up the road to Philadelphia. We're going to have to try to capture Fort Mchenry. Only 42 troops garrisoned. Fort conditions 100%. Lee is getting more supplies now. Stuart's cavalry starting to draw in more supplies, so that's good, even though they are suffering from lack of supply conditions. We'll set Preston's Corps to build a depot around Hagerstown. Probably build a telegraph too at Frederick. So our Department of Interior, though, has some troops that are trained and ready to join the front lines. So we're going to add some brigades to Ewell's Corps. Vaughn only has the 2 brigades, so we'll bring Vaughn's number of infantry brigade to 3. It's going to take him 23 days. Add another brigade to Gladden's division. Oh, that's why it's taking so long. Somehow I must have made a mistake. James's corps is way in the Florida Panhandle, and all those troops that are under James's command. So again, George James, doing everything he can to hurt the Confederacy. So he's got good fame, although his stats have started dropping. He's the Confederate States McClellan in this campaign. Well liked by the army, and the general public, but butts heads with his superiors. One thing we don't have anymore or what we did out west, is have a artillery reserve. We're going to take these 3 battalions of artillery and transfer them. We're going to transfer them directly to Beauregard's command. Alright, so we created our artillery reserve for the Army of Northern Virginia. We've promoted William N. Pendleton as the commander of that unit, also giving some young captains an opportunity to man those guns. Also, let's take a look at what artillery upgrades we might have available, and we don't have anything right now other than 6-pound field guns, but we will want to try to get these guns upgraded as soon as we can. We'll at least upgrade them to 12-pound Napoleons. Yeah. That's a little bit better, although you'd like a little bit more longer range guns from the artillery reserve. I could try swapping them out with some of the some of the division commands. We're not going to do that. We have some rifled muskets. Alright, so we've upgraded our... Oh, what did I do there? Somehow I'm mistakenly promoted Clarence Derrick Ewell's command. Not sure exactly how I did that. Oh, now I can't even find Ewell. What's going on? There's Ewell. Now, with creating the artillery corps, it shows up as its own separate corps on the campaign map. I would have preferred it just stay attached to Beauregard's headquarters, but that did not work. All right, let's see how Magruder can take Annapolis, although there's a lot of movement going on westward now. Army of the North moving west. Hampton's division preparing siege. That's over here. He's got the... Magruder's corps is named the Hampton Division. Looks like they are laying siege to Fort McHenry. We'll let Magruder get in position and then maybe auto-resolve that fort siege. As we move on to May 7th now, Buckner is at destination, so we should be able to start moving out the Army of the West. Now, bad news looks like out west, Union has able to reinforce their line along middle Illinois. Now, I wonder if we push hard towards Salem with all of the Army of the West. If we keep Zollicoffer where he's at, that might keep the Union forces in front of St. Louis at bay. And strike at Salem and defeat the Union armies there. Then we can turn and hit the other Union armies in front of St. Louis, and Zollicoffer can actually aid us in that. But we're going to have to move swiftly. Wheeler going to try to screen our movements. Hood is going to move forward. Price is going to move, and Buckner will also move out. Johnston will headquarter at Pinckneyville. So you can tell the Union Department of the West definitely guarding the St. Louis ferry, trying to prevent a crossing by Zollicoffer's Army of Missouri. So Bragg has his Western Reserve Army out in Nashville and train some new troops here. I think we'll try to transfer some units to Breckinridge's division of Hood's Corps. Let's add a brigade or two to Chetham's division of Price's Corps as well. And Hill. Price has deserved some reinforcements to his corps as his performance being so well in the Mississippi campaign. Alright, orders have been sent out west. Slow movement, low readiness. So Hood off to a sluggish start. The French is repulsed at the Battle of Puebla. Mexican victory. Battle of Cinco de Mayo. You can see Buckner's corps moving quickly now. Glorious victory at Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry garrison fleeing in panic. So Magruder takes Fort McHenry. And that opens the door to Annapolis, I would believe. As the garrison surrenders at Fort McHenry. Preston's corps keeping an eye on the Union armies near Hagerstown. Oh, did we? Oh, looks like Preston had to fall back. Oh, let's take Cox's corps over here. Let's see if he can't take Hagerstown. Looks like the Union might be trying to flank us on towards the Shenandoah on our left here. You can see a massive shift of forces by the Union. So already morning of May 11th. You can see we're slowly progressing, taking control over Annapolis. It looks like Johnston's Army of the West might be poised to make a striking blow towards order our corps. We got our three-pronged invasion with Wheeler kind of in between the two main Union forces trying to screen that position. And now that I think about it, I think I want to try to transfer some troops from the Western Reserve to Zollicoffer's command. Actually, Robert Rhodes would be a good division commander. He'll be there within a week, so that's good. Too long. So Blanchard gets a whole nother division added on, bringing Zollicoffer, when fully reinforced, up to about 18,000 men. And then the Army of the West has ballooned up to 74,000 men. Johnston has a perk, too. Many choices. Limelights. Chemical lamps using superheated balls of lime or calcium oxide create a glow known for lighthouses and theaters, but now also adapted for combat, allowing the illumination of enemy targets for nighttime bombardment, siege, and skirmishing efficiency during nighttime plus 25%. Sappers and miners. Soldiers in the armies include many mining background. Organizing these men into sap towards enemy fields work make assaults a lot less costly. Siege assault efficiency plus 25%. Level up in siege assaults. Field telegraph. Orders are sent via wire faster than couriers can ride, decreasing order delays. 10% order delay. Flying column 1. Copying the French invention, it's possible to break free from the heavy logistical chain. Its simplicity is to carry more rations and less clothing and tents to allow longer, faster marches. Movement speed plus 10. Maximum supplies plus 50%. But we are going to do flying column. May 12th. It might be a battle. It looks like the Union forces might be retreating away from... are retreating in the face of Hood's corps, as there's some rear guard action going on and routing Union troops. Butler, that's one of the commanders of the Union forces, is withdrawing. I know we had talked about invading through Cincinnati, but we might be better suited towards pushing towards Indianapolis and actually maybe striking westwards towards Vincennes. That would keep us in supporting distance of the Army of the West from the Army of the Kentucky. Armistead's 8,000 men have been given orders to a supply depot to it, Louisville, a ferry across the Ohio River. Also have control of Paoli, Indiana. We're going to strike towards Vincennes, and then Evansville. Armistead could go downriver. He's going to cross into Indiana, build a depot at Croydon, and then move towards Evansville, which means we're going to actually move Archer to Louisville. Actually takes Armistead out of range of Johnston, but we'll move him forward soon enough. Let's see what the progress is made on the next day. We're going to head into May 13th. Cutler's in retreat. So Union in full retreat from Salem, Illinois. Now May 14th. Department of Ohio, with about 31,000 men, though, looks like they've been isolated, though, which gives us a perfect opportunity. We might be able to pick off another Union corps. Cox Corps is preparing siege. Cox Corps has gone low on provisions, though. Preston's Corps retreated way back to Winchester. Right, so Annapolis is now in Confederates' hands. That did not push Maryland into the into Confederate side. I think we'll have to take Cumberland. I wonder if we should try to take Fort Washington. So Magruder is commanded to take Fort Washington. Do see a situation developing here. So Cox Corps is 31,000 strong, so a large corps for sure. Gotten himself isolated by sieging this Army of the North with 1, 2, 3, at least 4 Army Corps of Union Army Corps that might be able to take him. Be interesting to see how that develops. I'd like to push E or Yule in support, but they are very low readiness. Hoping to get them into a better readiness stance. They're struggling to draw enough supplies to increase their readiness. Pegram's actually ready to strike out Kansas. Going to move towards Lawrence, Kansas. We'll push Pullman to behind at Pullman. Will get forward to Fort Scott and behind Pegram's cavalry. See if the Army of the West can engage the Union forces at Salem. And he has engaged. So Hood has engaged. And it is George McClellan again with 31,000 men now under the Department of Ohio. But he is left alone again and faces twice his number as Albert Sidney Johnston is able to combine all his forces. Hood, Price, and Buckner will all be on McClellan's army in the same day. Now, Wheeler's cavalry corps is off into the distance, a day's march away. Looks like we will have our next battle here around Salem, Illinois. McClellan's been given orders to stall the Confederate advance into Illinois to allow time for the other Union corps to converge. And if you're new to this channel and these videos for Grand Tactician, hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. I appreciate your time regardless. Thank you. Our scouts report the enemy is near Salem, Illinois, and our army is to prepare for battle. We are facing the Department of Ohio under George McClellan with a strength of 31,000 men, 46 guns. The enemy army is green, and morale is reported to be eager. Reports indicate their supply situation is outstanding. Our supply situation is outstanding as well. McClellan has the unenviable position of also being on the offense and outnumbered.